skill number 5 is influencing. And I think this can feel like one of those mysterious, magical
like
skills.
gravitas.
Yeah. You know, people might get that feedback, oh, you need to improve your influence. And you just think, well, how do I do this? So I do think this feels like a hard one. So we want to try and make it really practical for everybody. But why does it matter? So why does it matter to be able to influence other people in your squiggly career? Well, I think often we are trying to get people on board. You know, like we are trying to persuade people that our recommendations or our suggestions are worth listening to. When you influence people, they're probably more likely to listen to you. We were also discussing when we were preparing for this, because we do prepare for them, is that when you are good at influencing, you gain lots of trust. And I think that makes your life easier. You know, when people are like, oh, okay, well, I trust that person, they're going to go away and do what they say they're going to do. And I think that influence sort of buys you other things along the way.
Do you try and influence me?
Do I try and influence you? It's a good question. No, I don't think I do.
I definitely try and influence you.
I know you do, but I know you do. I don't think I do, but you do. But then you're so transparent about it that I know you're doing it.
I'm influencing you. That's not my advice, by the way. Like, I'm influencing you now.
I just see you thinking, well, I don't agree and I want Sarah to do something different. So how can I make that happen? And I think we know each other too well. I think we've gone beyond influence. I think that's our problem. So if it's not me, maybe me, I don't know, me or someone else, how can you help someone influence?
The way that my advice for this is that you want to connect with what someone cares about. So I don't think influencing is just sort of telling you what I want you to do. No. And if I say it more times, it's more likely to happen. Or if I say it louder, it's going to more likely to happen. I think in order to influence someone, you have to take the thing that you want. So let's say I want to work on a particular project or something like that. And I have to kind of think, well, what's in it for you? What is it you care about? So maybe you care about the performance of your team. Maybe, and I've done this before, with a new manager, they care about making a quick impact, right? Yeah. You've got a new manager in your team. So you want to there's an outcome you want, and there's something that you know that they want. And if you can connect the two things together, you are more likely to influence them in terms of the thing that you're looking for. And I've honestly done this so much. I think the thing you have to do first is you have to spend a bit of time working out what people care about. Like, for this to be genuine, I can't go, oh, in that last meeting you said this. I think you have to really think about, that's a person that I want to influence. Like, what do I know about them? What conversations am I already having with them where I'm sort of collecting some of the stuff that they care about? And then once you've got that insight, you can then sort of attach that onto the outcome that you're looking for. So it does take a little bit of time, just take a little bit of observation. I think it takes a bit of curiosity, like of an individual, but once you've got that insight, you can connect it to get that impact.
I do think you're very good at it, given I'm sitting here in front of cameras. And I'm someone who doesn't like sitting in front of cameras.
That is
I love being on a stage, but I don't like having a camera in front of me. And you've spent a long time influencing me that this is worth it. So people better be watching these podcasts.
Give us some feedback to reinforce this, everybody.
So mine is a slightly different idea for action, and that is to consider your listening versus talking ratio when you want to influence. And I think sometimes we make the mistake of thinking influence looks like talking. Like, I need to tell you what I want and what I want you to believe. And I've found over time that for the people that I want to influence, where I think maybe they're the hardest to influence, the more I listen, the more likely I am to influence that person. And I wonder whether that's because, connecting to your point, then I understand what they care about. And then I'm basically being curious. So I think I used to very much have the perspective of like, well, this is what I need to say. You know, sort of almost like I was so determined to like get my words out or to like share the thing. And often because I cared about it, I didn't really want to have a conversation. I was like, no, this is what I want you to do. So I need to tell you what that thing is. Whereas actually, it's almost like a slower approach. If you start to realise, do you know what, this person isn't on board, like you can almost like stop and change direction. You go, oh, okay, so, you know, I'm hearing that this is important to you. Like, tell me a bit more about how that works. Or if that doesn't feel right, what would feel more useful for you? And I think that is also curiosity in action. And so anytime now I'm having a conversation with someone where I think I'm not getting nods.
Yeah.
You know, like, because most people nod along when particularly on points that, you know, work for them. They're like, oh yeah, I get that. Or you see positive signs of like people coming on board. If I'm not getting that, then I won't just persevere.
Yeah.
I think I'll go, oh no, I'm going to change tack. I'm sort of going to stop talking. I'm going to start listening more. And also I've let go of this idea of you always have to influence in that moment. and so probably like harder to influence people. As you were saying, it's never an overnight thing. In one conversation, I'm probably not going to completely change somebody's mind, but I might start to nudge them. I feel like it's like I'm nudging people. In the next conversation, you perhaps go a bit further, and just recognizing that it's not always a sort of win-lose scenario. Oh, I've influenced and I got a yes, or I influenced and I got a no.
Like nods and nudges
Yes.
are part of our are the skills that sit under influencing.
And if you haven't listened to Helen's interview with Constant Locke, I'd really recommend it. I was doing some research for today and I listened back to it and just found it really useful. And one of the things that she says that struck me as particularly useful, and one of those, like, I wish I'd thought of this sooner in my career, like I wish I'd known this earlier, is be really clear about what are you trying to influence. Are you trying to influence a process, or are you trying to influence an outcome? So you're almost like, an outcome would be a recommendation you've got in mind, like, I think we should do project X, whereas a process might be, well, actually I want to influence like who we get involved in this project. I want to influence like sort of how we approach this project. And I think that's a more nuanced and interesting way of thinking about influence, and I think it's helpful.
It's a bit less win-lose. Like, if I haven't got what I wanted at the end, I've lost. But actually, if you're trying to do the process, it's sort of longer game, I think, actually. You're likely to win more next time. So that is the end of today's skill, and we'll be back tomorrow for our next skill, which is about strategic thinking.
So thanks so much for listening, and bye for now.